So the topic we are going to cover today is refraction through prism. So first let us understand what is a prism. So prism is a portion of a transparent refracting medium which is bounded by two plane faces inclined to each other at a certain angle. So first of all, it is a transparent medium, and second thing is there are two plane faces which are inclined to each other at a certain angle. So one face can be considered this, another face which is considered this, and they are inclined to each other. So the figure which you see over here is what prism looks like. So if I name this figure, so let me name this as A, B, C, D, E and F. So the two plane faces, that is A, B, E, D, is one face, and another face is A, C, F, D. So these are the two faces which are inclined to each other. So these two faces are called as the refracting faces. So let me mark over here. So basically this face and this face are refracting faces. These are called as the refracting faces of a prism. The line AD, which you can see over here, let me mark it in red. So this line AD, along which the two refracting faces meet each other. So these two faces ABED and ACFD meet along this line AD. So this line is called as the refracting edge. This is called as the refracting edge. The third face, that is BCFE, the down face, that is BCFE of the prism, which is opposite to the refracting edge. The face which is opposite to this refracting face, refracting edge, is called as the base of the prism. So this becomes the base of prism, that is the face which is opposite to refracting edge. Then there is something called as angle of prism. So in this case, if you see this angle A, okay, this angle between the two refracting faces is called as the angle of prism. This angle A is called as angle of prism. And then there is something called as principal section of a prism. So principal section is any section of a prism which is cut by a plane perpendicular to refracting refracting edge. Okay, so supposing I just cut this prism along a plane which is perpendicular to the refracting edge. Okay, so supposing I cut it by a plane like this. In between, I take a section of it, okay, such that that plane is perpendicular to this edge. Okay, this plane should be exactly perpendicular to the edge. Okay, then that would be called as the principal section. Okay, so if we want to draw a principal section, it would be just a triangle, as good as a front view of the prism. Okay, so it would look something like this. Okay, so this would be called as the principal section. That means you just cut this section in between somewhere such that your plane of cutting is perpendicular to this refracting edge. Then that gets you the principal section. So let us say ABC, that is the front face. Okay, that is ABC triangle is the principal section. So now we are going to look at the phenomena of refraction through a prism. That means if you make a ray of light incident on one of the faces of a prism, the refracting faces of the prism, obviously it is going to experience a refraction, and as it comes out of the other face, there will be one more refraction happening there. So total 2 refractions, and then it will be emerging out of that prism. So what exactly happens there? So this phenomena of refraction through prism we are going to learn. Here we are also going to derive an expression for angle of deviation of the ray of light passing through the prism. Okay, so by how much deviation it comes out? The incident light, when you make a light incident, a ray of light incident on the prism, by how much deviation the emergent light would be coming out from that prism, that we are going to see. So here we are going to consider equilateral prism having an angle of prism A. Okay, so first let us consider a principal section of a prism. Let's consider, that is ABC. Let's consider a principal section ABC of a prism. Let us consider a ray now. Let's say ray PQ, which is incident on the face AB. So I'll make an incident ray over here, which is incident on AB. So ray, let's name this ray as PQ. Okay. So this ray is made incident on one of the faces of the prism, the refracting faces of the prism, that is AB. So as this ray would be entering a denser medium, that is glass. This is the transparent medium of the prism, that is glass. Since it is entering in the denser medium round, it is going to bend towards the normal. Okay, so first let us draw a normal over here. So let us say that this is a normal at this point. Let it be a dotted normal. Okay, so since it is entering a denser medium, it is going to bend towards the normal. So let us draw the path. Let the path inside be QR. Let this path be QR. Okay, so it is going to bend towards the normal. So let us mark the angle of incidence over here. Angle of incidence will be I. So since there are two refractions happening, let us mark the first angle of incidence. Okay, let's keep it as I, other one will take as I dash. And let us say that this angle of refraction over here is R. So this ray QR is going to suffer another refraction at the face FC. And now since it is going from a denser medium, that is glass, to a rarer medium, so it is going to bend away from the normal. So basically we are going to draw another normal over here. Let me just join the two normals because we require it later. So this is another normal. So now this ray QR is experiencing another refraction and it is going to bend away from the normal. So let's draw it something like this. Okay, so let us mark the angles again over here. So let me take the angle of emergence over here as I dash. Let this angle of emergence be I dash, and here the angle of incidence at this point over here, let us take it as R dash. Okay, let's keep the notation simple for further things. Okay, so now what is happening over here? Ray PQ is made incident on the first phase, refracting phase of the prism, that is AB. It experiences a refraction. It bends towards the normal since it is going from rarer to denser medium. It again experiences a refraction at the second refracting phase of prism, that is AC. And now since it is going from a denser to rarer medium, it would bend away from the normal. So this is how the process is. Let's say the last point or the last ray is RS. So here, if we produce this incident ray and the emergent ray, that is ray PQ, incident ray, and ray SR, that is the emergent ray, backwards, okay, this is forward, this is backwards, what you are going to get over here is something called as angle of deviation. That is how much the original line has been shifted. That is going to be your angle of deviation. So if I produce this line, angle of the line of incidence, okay, and the line of emergence behind, something like this, okay, what I'm going to get over here, this particular angle over here, is going to be the angle of deviation. So let me write it over here on top, angle of deviation. That means if this interface was not there, what would happen? This incident ray would have straight away gone like this. But since this medium is put over here, this interface is put over here, what is going to happen? It is going to experience refraction twice, and it is going to bend like this. That means how much it is bent, by what angle it is bent, is the angle of deviation. That is what is marked over here. Okay. So the angle of deviation delta, so let us write over here angle of deviation. It is a important quantity, angle of deviation, which is denoted by delta. So what is this angle of deviation? It is the angle between the incident ray and the emergent ray. So this is angle between incident ray and emergent ray. Okay, the other things are, these are the refracting faces, and more important thing is this is the angle of prism. That is the angle between the two refracting surfaces is the angle of prism. Again, this is a refracting surface or refracting face. This is also a refracting face. This is also a refracting face. This is the incident ray, normal, emergent ray, refracted ray. Okay. Let us mark this point also over here. Let us mark it as M, point M. This point over here, that is where the two rays, that is incident ray and the emergent ray, meet behind. Let that point be M, and let this point where the two normals meet be N. So let I and R be the angle of incidence and refraction at the surface AB, and let the angle R dash and I dash be the angle of angle of incidence and angle of refraction at the surface AC respectively. Okay, A, as I told you, is the angle of prism. So now if I consider the quadrilateral, AQNR, so where is this AQNR? It is AQNR. So if you see, this is a normal, QN is a normal to the face. That means this angle over here is going to be 90 degrees. Similarly, NR is normal to the face AC. That means this is going to be again 90 degrees. And we know that the angle sum property of quadrilateral says that the total sum of all the angles, the internal angles of a quadrilateral is 360. So if you remove this 90 and this 90, that is 180 from that 360, what you will get over here? You will see that angle A plus angle QNR, that is this angle. Correct? So let me write it. Let me remove this markings. Okay. So what I can say is angle A plus angle QNR is equal to 180 degrees. How did I say that? Because in a quadrilateral, the sum of all the angles is 360, and I know that angle AQN will be 90 as well as ARN will also be 90, because it is nothing but a normal. QN is the normal to the face AB and RN is normal to the face AC. That is why this is possible. That is, the remaining two angles will be equal to 180 degrees. Now, if I consider triangle QNR, if I consider a triangle QNR over here, I can say that R plus R dash, that is angle R, that is this angle, plus R dash plus angle QNR will also be equal to 180 degrees because of the angle sum property for a triangle, that is the sum of all the angles in a triangle is 180. So angle R plus angle R dash plus angle N, that is QNR, will be equal to 180 degrees. So if you see these two statements, that is angle A plus QNR is equal to 180 and R plus R dash plus QNR is equal to 180, the right hand sides are 180. Therefore, you can equate the left hand side because right hand side are equal. So A plus angle QNR will be equal to R plus angle R dash plus angle QNR. So what is going to happen over here? QNR and QNR is going to cancel out and you are going to get a first statement, that is A is equal to R plus R dash. This is what you are going to see from here. So therefore, the angle of prism is equal to the sum of angle of incidence, sum of angle of refraction at the first phase and the angle of incidence at the second phase. This is what you get. So let us name this as 1 because we are going to use this later. Now, let us consider the next triangle, that is QMR. So now, from triangle QMR, so if you see over here QMR, this very small angle triangle, so I'll draw it like this over here. This is QMR. So if you see that this is my incident ray, MR is my emergent ray which is produced behind. This is the angle of deviation over here. If you see this triangle, this is the angle of deviation. So from here, from this triangle, I can say that since my angle of deviation is an external angle, I can say that angle of deviation is equal to sum of angle MQR plus angle MRQ, that is the angle of deviation is going to be sum of this angle plus this angle by external angle property or exterior angle property. This I can say, correct? So the same thing I am going to write over here. So basically what I get over here is the deviation will be equal to angle MQR plus angle MRQ, that is this angle plus this angle. But if I want to find out the measure of MQR over here, I can do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do over here, if you look at this carefully, over here, I will just draw this part, these two lines on this side. This is my angle of incidence. If I just see, this is my R. So from here I can say that this angle of incidence will be same as this angle, that is the total angle. That is this angle, that is angle of incidence, will be equal to this complete angle because they are vertically opposite angles. So if I want to find out this angle over here, let's say this angle is theta. So I can say that angle I is equal to R plus theta because they are vertically opposite angle. That means my required angle. Okay, or rather I would replace this theta by angle MQR. Angle MQR. So angle MQR plus angle R will be equal to angle I because both the angles will be same because they are vertically opposite angles. So angle MQR will be what? Angle MQR will be I minus R. This angle over here, this small angle over here, this angle is going to be I minus R. Similarly, this side, angle MRQ will be what? It is going to be I dash minus R dash. So similarly, MRQ will be what? I dash, that is outside triangle, angle minus this R dash because this angle will be equal to this complete angle. So if you remove R dash from I dash, you are going to get this small angle MRQ. So this is the logic I am going to use over here to write down the final statement or the next statement. So what I will get? MQR can be written as I minus R plus MRQ can be written as I dash minus R dash. So I'll take I and I dash together and R and R dash together. So before that, I can make a statement that deviation will be equal to, now I minus R will be nothing but, this is nothing but a deviation at the first surface. This angle MQR is nothing but a deviation at the first surface, because if this interface was absent, if this AB interface was absent, this ray would have gone straight like this. But since this interface is there over here, this ray has bent. That is, it is bent through this angle. That means this angle becomes the deviation. So I can say that I minus R is deviation at the first phase. Plus, similarly, I can say that this angle MRQ can be said as deviation at second phase. It is going to be deviation at the second phase. So now in the next step, I'm going to combine this I and I dash together. So deviation will be equal to I plus I dash. Minus sign I will take out common, because minus R dash I have. Minus sign I'll take out common. It's going to be R plus R dash. This is what I'm going to write. But here we had seen equation number 1 that R plus R dash is equal to A. So I'll put it over here. So delta is equal to I plus I dash minus A. So if I take A on the other side, I will get that A plus delta, that is angle of deviation, will be equal to I plus I dash. So what I can say from here? I can say that angle of incidence, or rather let us write down that angle of incidence on the other side. So what I can say over here, that angle of prism, that is angle A, plus angle of deviation is equal to angle of incidence plus angle of emergence, because I dash is angle of emergence with the angle that ray makes while emerging out of the prism, that is angle of emergence. So when a ray of light is refracted through a prism, what we can say, the sum of angle of incidence and the angle of emergence is equal to the sum of angle of prism and angle of deviation. This is what we can say from here. Now let us see different factors on which the angle of deviation depends upon. So this derivation is not over yet. We have a part of it left. First, let us see factors on which deviation depends upon. So the first factor on which deviation depends upon is the angle of incidence. This is the first factor. The second factor is the material of prism. What kind of material prism is made of. The third factor the angle of deviation is dependent upon is wavelength of light which is passed through the prism. It is also dependent upon the wavelength of light. And the fourth point it is dependent upon is the angle of prism, that is angle A. It is dependent upon angle of prism also. So it is dependent upon the angle of incidence, the material of the prism, the wavelength of the light used, and the angle of prism. These are the factors on which delta depends upon. So now we are going to see variation of angle of deviation with angle of incidence. How our angle of deviation is going to vary with angle of incidence. So the first figure which you can see over here is a path of ray of light suffering the refraction through a prism of refractive angle A, which I have shown over here. So refracting angle of the prism is A, and this figure shows how a ray of light which is made incident on the face of the prism gets refracted and emerges out. The second figure shows the variation of angle of deviation delta. Okay, I've taken angle of deviation along the y-axis and it shows the variation of this angle of deviation, that is delta, with the angle of incidence. So for a particular angle of incidence, what will be the deviation, that is shown in the second figure. So if you see the figure, for a given prism and for a given color of light, if the wavelength is fixed and if the angle of prism is fixed, then you will see that the angle of deviation is dependent only on angle of incidence, because the factors on which angle of deviation depends upon is angle of incidence, material of prism, lambda, that is wavelength of light, and angle of prism. So for the fixed prism, that is angle of prism remains same, material remains same, and for the same color of light, that is the wavelength remains same. Okay, so if we set this condition, that is for the same prism and for the same light, okay, the angle of deviation would be dependent only on angle of incidence, because rest of the things are automatically going to remain same, because you are not changing the prism, you are not changing the light. Okay, so in that case the angle of deviation will only be dependent upon angle of incidence. So if you see this figure, as the angle of incidence increases, your angle of deviation is going on dropping. Okay, so as we are going on increasing the angle of incidence I, the angle of deviation is going on decreasing at the first. At certain point where angle of incidence is some value, we will see that what value it will be. Okay, at some value of angle of incidence, the deviation is going to become minimum. Okay, that is called as the minimum deviation. Okay, so that angle will be called as the minimum deviation. That means the deviation between incident ray and the emergent ray is going to become the least possible for that material and for that light. Okay, it will become least when at some particular angle of incidence, and after that particular angle of incidence is crossed, if you still more increase the angle of incidence, now your deviation is going to increase more and more again. It will go on increasing more again. So if you see this figure, it is very much clear from here that delta, that is angle of deviation, is corresponding to two values of angle of incidences, that is this value and this value. That means single value of delta, the single value of delta is going to have two values of angle of incidences. It is clear from that figure, right? So single value of deviation is going to have the two values of angle of incidences. Okay, so this fact can be expected from the symmetry of I and I dash. Okay, we'll express it using this equation that we have already derived, that is delta is equal to I plus I dash minus A. This is the expression we have already seen. So if we set certain value, supposing I say that I is 30 degrees, I dash is 20 degrees, and A is minus 10 degrees. So what is this answer going to be? 10 plus 20, 50, minus 10 will be 40 degrees. That means supposing your deviation happening is 40. So now there are two possibilities over here, 30 plus 20 minus 10, or what I can write? I can also write this as 20 plus 30 minus 10. That means what? Here I was 30, I dash was 20. Here what did I do? I dash I made 20, I dash I made 20, and I made 30. I just interchanged I and I dash. That means what? Supposing I set the value of angle of incidence as 30, I as 30. The angle of deviation I get over, this is fixed as 10. The angle of deviation I get over here is 40. And the angle of emergence I get over here is 20, let's say. So what is going to happen over here? Supposing I just send this light behind, backwards, that means I just reverse the direction of arrows. I was sending the light from this direction, I just reverse the direction of arrows and I send the light in the opposite direction now. I will trace the light in the opposite direction, that is in this direction. So what will happen? This angle over here is going to become I, that is 20, and this angle, that is emergence, will become I dash, which is going to be 30. So the angles will get interchanged. That's it. The deviation will still remain 40. It will still remain 40. That means if you reverse the path of light through a prism, it is going to trace the same path. If you keep your angle of incidence same, your angle of prism same, that means for the same prism, for the same light, if you just interchange your angle of incidence and angle of emergence, the light is going to trace its path in the opposite direction. The same path will be followed in the opposite direction. So we can say physically, it means that the path of the ray can be traced back, resulting in the same angle of deviation. There will be no harm happening to the angle of deviation. Only the angle of incidence and angle of emergence will get interchanged. 30 will become 20, 20 will become 30. It is going to trace the same path back. Okay. So this is what is happening. That is why for the same angle of deviation, you are going to have two values of angle of incidences. Now if you see, this was 20 and 30. Same deviation remained when it was 30 and when it was 20. Okay, when angle of incidence became 30, over here I'll mark. When angle of incidence became 30 and when angle of incidence became 20. For both the cases, the deviation over here remained 40. This is what it means. Okay. So now let us see what do you mean by minimum deviation. Okay, so what is minimum deviation? It is the minimum value of angle of deviation. The minimum deviation experienced by a ray when it undergoes refraction through a prism will be called as a minimum deviation. So how do we define minimum deviation? The minimum value of angle of deviation suffered by a ray on passing through a prism. So once you pass a ray through a prism, the minimum deviation it can experience will be called as the minimum deviation for that prism, okay, for that particular light. And it is denoted by delta suffix m, small m, okay. So now let us see the relation between refractive index and the angle of minimum deviation. So when a prism is in the position of minimum deviation, so wherein a situation is that the ray of light is experiencing a minimum deviation. So let us write when delta, that is deviation, is equal to minimum deviation, a condition is such that the light which passes through the prism, that is QR, will be symmetrically passing. That is, it will be passing parallel to the base of the prism. It will be exactly parallel to the base. So this prism base supposing is BC. Then this ray of light which is passing, that is QR, through the prism will be exactly parallel to the base BC. So at the condition of minimum deviation, that is when your delta is equal to delta M, then QR will be parallel to BC. The ray passing will be exactly symmetric. Okay, it will be passing symmetrically through the prism. Another thing that is going to happen over here is the angle of incidence, that is I, will be equal to the angle of emergence, that is I dash. This is also going to happen at an angle of minimum deviation. That happens by geometry. Also, the angle of refraction at the first interface AB, first interface AB, will be equal to the angle of incidence at the second interface, that is R dash, that is the second interface AC. So R will be becoming equal to R dash. So this is what is going to happen when the prism or the ray of light which is passing through the prism is going to experience minimum deviation, that is delta M, that is I will become equal to I dash, R will become equal to R dash, and the ray of light will be passing symmetrically through the prism, that is QR will be parallel to the base of prism, that is BC. So if you remember, on top we have derived the two expressions that we are going to use right now. So this I had written in red over here, A is equal to R plus R dash. This is one expression we are going to use, and the second expression is the angle of prism plus angle of deviation gives us the angle of incidence plus angle of emergence. This is the second relation I'm going to use over here. So let us take them one by one. So the first one I will consider that as I had A plus delta is equal to I plus I dash. So now let us apply the condition of minimum deviation over here. So how this equation will change? A will remain same because it is the same prism. Angle of prism will not change. Plus deviation is minimum deviation now. At a condition of minimum deviation, I dash becomes equal to I. So let me put it as I. So I dash became equal to I. So from here I can say this is going to be 2I. So from here I can say that I will be equal to A plus dm divided by 2. Okay, let us name this as 3. Okay, we also know, let us consider the second expression now. Also, what was the second expression? Angle of prism is equal to R plus R dash. But at the angle of minimum deviation, A will remain same, but R and R dash are same, so I can put it as R plus R, that will be 2R. So R from here is going to be equal to A divided by 2. Let us name this as equation number 4. Now what is my intention? My intention is to find out the relation between refractive index and the angle of minimum deviation. So I have my angle of minimum deviation over here, dm, and I want refractive index. So what I will use over here? Obvious thing, we are going to use the Snell's law. So I will say from Snell's law, let's apply the Snell's law at the interface. From the Snell's law, the refractive index of the material of prism will be what? That is mu 2 1. I will write it normal first. That is what? The refractive index of second medium with respect to first medium. Now second medium is the prism material over here. That is mu 2 upon mu 1. But the first material is the surrounding material, that is air. So this is going to be 1. So it is going to be just mu 1. Just mu 2. Because mu 1 will be 1 because surrounding is air. Okay. So we can just write it as mu, considering mu as the refractive index of the glass or the transparent medium of the prism. So mu will be equal to sine of I upon sine of R. So I have my I over here in terms of angle of prism and deviation, minimum deviation. Here also I have R. So let's substitute. So this is going to be sine of A plus delta m upon 2 divided by sine of A upon 2. Okay. So basically this becomes the relation between the refractive index of the material of prism and the angle of minimum deviation for that particular prism. So this is your relation. Okay. So by measuring the values of angle of prism and minimum deviation with the help of spectrometer, okay, you can use spectrometer to find out the values. The refractive index mu of the material of the prism can be accurately calculated. Okay. So now let us minimize this expression, the same expression, that is relation between mu and angle of deviation, minimum deviation, for small angle, prism having small angle. Okay, so for a small angle prism, we can say that is also called as thin prism. It is also called as thin prism. In this case, delta m is also very small. So delta m is also very small in this case. That is, minimum deviation will be very, very small. So in this case, we are going to use the same approximation, that is sine of theta, that is sine of small angle is approximately equal to theta. This is the approximation we are going to use over here. So I can say that mu is equal to, instead of sine I will just write down the angles. This is going to be a plus delta m upon 2 the whole divided by a upon 2. So this 2 and 2 will get cancelled. You will get a plus delta m upon a. So if you split this a to both of them, you will get 1 plus delta m upon a. I'll take this 1 on the other side. So you'll get 1 minus mu multiplied by this a. Just take it cross, will be equal to delta m. So this is the relation between angle of prism, refractive index, and angle of minimum deviation for a thin prism, that is for a small angle prism, which is another important expression to be remembered. So it is quite clear from this expression, the final expression which we got for thin prism, that the angle of deviation is not dependent upon angle of incidence for a thin prism. Okay, so for a thin prism it is not dependent upon angle of incidence because it is almost eliminated from here. It only depends upon the angle of prism and the refractive index of the material. Okay, so this is all about the deviation and the refraction through the prism. So now next topic we have is dispersion of white light. So if in exam the relation between the refractive index and the angle of minimum deviation is asked to you to derive, this entire thing should be coming, that is the first part with the figure. This figure is very important. Factors are not required, no need to write these factors. This is very much important. The graph is very much important. Graph has to come. If you do not draw the graph in the exam, you lose marks. Okay, so graph has to come in the exam, and then the final expression. Okay, the final expression should be written clearly. Okay, so this entire thing has to come except factors on which delta depends upon. Now let us see what is dispersion of white light. So when a narrow beam of sunlight is made incident on a glass prism, the emergent light, when made to fall on a screen, would show several color bands. Okay, so broadly if you see the component colors of this band, they are going to be in the sequence violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange and red, which is given by a acronym VIBGYOR. Okay, so it is given by the acronym VIBGYOR, VIBGYOR. Okay, so in this, out of all these 7 colors, the red color is going to bend the least. The red color is going to bend the least and the violet color is going to bend the most. Okay, so how can we, and this is called as the dispersion. Whatever you see, that is splitting of white light into 7 different colors. Okay, it's called as the dispersion. So how do we define dispersion of light? The phenomena of splitting of white light into its component colors on passing through a refracting medium is called as the dispersion of light. The pattern which you get, all the color band pattern which you get, which is seen on the screen, is called as the spectrum. So the pattern of the colored band obtained on the screen is called as the spectrum. This will be called as the spectrum. So now let us see Newton's classic experiment on dispersion of white light. Okay, so this is the Newton's classic experiment on dispersion of white light. So it can be easily seen from this experiment that prism only separates the color that are already present in the white light, and prism itself does not create any color. Okay, that is the intention of this experiment, to show that prism is not responsible for creating any color, it only disperses the color. The colors are coming from the white light. The white light is getting splitted into the spectrum. So we can see in the figure, we have taken 2 prisms P1 and P2 of the same glass material and of the same refracting angle. The angle of prism should be same, and the material of the prism should be same. The first prism is placed straight, proper, and the second prism is kept upside down with respect to the first prism P1. So if we allow the narrow beam of white light to fall on prism 1 and observe the emergent beam which is coming out of prism 2, which is falling on the screen, we would see a patch of white light on the screen. Okay, so it is very much clear from here that the first prism is going to disperse the white light into its component colors, which is then recombined by the second prism, which is inverted with respect to the first prism, and give us the white light which is seen as a patch on the screen. So this is going to prove that the white light itself consists of 7 different colors which are just dispersed by the prism, and prism is not creating any color over here. So now let us look at the cause of dispersion, how and why this dispersion happens. So the main reason behind this dispersion is that the refractive index of the refracting medium, so in this case the refracting medium is the material of the prism, okay. So the refractive index of this material is going to be different for different wavelengths. Now, as we have learned in the electromagnetic waves, chapter number 8, okay, the light, the visible light consists of different colors, okay, and these different colors have different wavelengths. Okay, so each color of light is associated with definite wavelength. So in the visible spectrum, the red light is having a long wavelength that is approximately 700 nanometer. So wavelength of red light is approximately 700 nanometer, and wavelength of violet light is very short, the lowest, that is 400 nanometer approximately. Okay, and remaining colors lie in between this wavelength. So if you see, each of the color of the light is going to have different wavelength, and if the wavelength differs, the refractive index is also going to differ. Okay, and since the refractive index is going to differ, what is going to happen is the angle of deviation is also going to differ, because we have just now seen the relation, that is delta is equal to mu minus 1 into A. This is the relation we have just now studied. So angle of deviation is dependent upon the refractive index. So if the wavelength of each of the color is different, then what is going to happen? The refractive index would be different for that particular color. So since the refractive index is changing, the deviation will change, and therefore the light is going to, the different colors are going to emerge out at different angle of deviation, and that is why they split. They come out with different angles. That is why we see that there is splitting of that light. Okay, the splitting of white light, and that is called as the dispersion of light. So now the refractive index mu of the material and wavelength lambda of the light, okay, is given, the relation between these two, the wavelength and the refractive index, is given by a relation called as Cauchy's relation. Okay, so it is called as Cauchy's relation, which is given as mu is equal to A plus B upon lambda square plus C upon lambda raised to 4. Okay, so this is the Cauchy's relation, which is in which A, B, C are the constants, and the value of which depends upon the nature of material. A, B, C would depend upon the nature of material, but they will be constant. Also, for a small angled of prism, we know that delta is equal to mu minus 1, that is refractive index minus 1, multiplied by the angle of prism A. So now, since lambda for red is greater than lambda for violet, and remaining will be intermediate in between this, so maximum is for the red, minimum is for the violet. So since lambda for red is more, so more the lambda, less will be the refractive index. So refractive index of red will be lesser than refractive index of violet. It will be lesser than the refractive index of violet color, and hence what would happen to the angle of deviation from this relation? Angle of deviation for red will be lesser than angle of deviation for violet. That is why the red light is deviated the least and the violet light is deviated the most. So if you see the figure which we had drawn over here, the first one is the red light which is deviated the least. If you compare it with the incident light, if you compare it with the incident light, you will see that if you produce this incident light, and if you produce this, and if you produce this one, okay, if you will see that this angle will be smaller than this angle. That is, angle of deviation for red will be much more smaller than deviation for violet. Okay, so that is the reason. Okay, so it is all about Cauchy's relation, that is mu and lambda has inverse relation, so one increases, the other decreases, and mu and delta has direct relation, so one increases, the other one also increases, or if one decreases, the other one also decreases. So thus we can say that the red color is deviated the least and the violet color is deviated the most. Other colors are deviated by the angles between the red and violet, the deviation for red and violet. So different colors which are contained in the white light are going to emerge from the glass prism in different directions due to different angle of deviations, okay, and different wavelengths, and this is called as the dispersion of light. Now lastly, we will see the difference between dispersive media and a non-dispersive media. So what is a dispersive media? So in some of the refractive medias, different colors of light travel with different speeds. So obviously the variation of refractive index we just now saw with wavelength is highly pronounced in such medias. So this media which bring out a good dispersion of white light, okay, is called as the dispersive media. Okay, so you have a very good dispersion of light over here, you will get a good spectrum over here. So such media is called as the dispersive media. For example, glass, quartz, okay, these are good dispersive medias. Coming to non-dispersive media, a media such as vacuum, okay, all the colors of white light will travel with the same speed. That means the refractive index is not dependent upon the wavelength of the light. In dispersive media, it was dependent upon the wavelength of light. The mu was dependent upon lambda. But in vacuum or in non-dispersive media, the mu is independent of lambda. It doesn't matter, okay, what is lambda. All the colors will travel with the same speed. Okay, that is why there will be no deviation happening, and white light will not undergo any dispersion of light. And such medium in which there is no dispersion happening, white light does not undergo any dispersion of light, is called as a non-dispersive media. So that is the main difference between dispersive media and a non-dispersive media. So this is all about dispersion of light, the basics of dispersion of light. So today we'll stop here and we will continue with the next part of the chapter in the next class.